What does real leadership actually look like, especially when no one's watching? Today, we're going to dig into that by exploring the character of one of history's most fascinating figures, the Caliph Umar ibn al-Khattab. Now, as the leader of the early Muslim community, his actions have been studied for centuries, and for good reason.
So just imagine this for a second. The leader of this massive empire, he's sick, and his doctors tell him he needs a simple remedy, just a spoonful of honey. The thing is, this honey isn't his. It belongs to the public treasury. Now, for pretty much anyone else, this would be nothing, but not for Omar.
He actually refused to take it. Instead, he gets up, gathers all the people, and asks them, his people, for permission to use just a single spoonful of their honey. His logic was incredibly simple, but so profound. He said, if you give me permission, I will take it, otherwise it is haram for me, which means it's religiously forbidden.
That one little story, it tells you almost everything you need to know about this man. His every single move was guided by this really powerful internal compass. So, what were these core principles that defined his leadership? Well, let's break them down. Okay, so first up, it all started with this deep, profound sense of accountability. Omar was just dominated by the thought of the hereafter, of having to answer for how he handled the people's trust.
Let's circle back to that honey for a moment. This wasn't for show. This was a man genuinely wrestling with his responsibility. The idea that he might misuse even a single drop of the people's wealth, that was more painful to him than his own sickness. It all goes back to that court teaching to render trust to whom they are due.
The people were so moved by this that they actually started to weep. And what they said in that moment is so telling. They didn't just say, yeah, sure, take the honey. They said, what a man you are, O Omar. You have made it difficult for the caliphs who come after you. They knew right then and there that he was setting an almost impossibly high bar for every leader to come. So that's accountability. But that builds on our next pillar, a really radical commitment to humility. See, for Umar, humility wasn't just some passive idea. It was something you had to actively practice, following that prophetic teaching that he who humbles himself for the sake of Allah, Allah will elevate him.
And this next story just shows you his incredible self-awareness. One day, some foreign delegations were coming to meet with him, and he later admitted, I felt a little proud. So what did he do? His immediate response was to grab a heavy water container, throw it over his shoulder, and start carrying it, just to physically crush that feeling of pride before it could even take root. This whole mindset is captured perfectly in another story. Someone saw him personally tending to the state camels and asked him, why didn't you just tell a servant to do it? Umar's reply was, what slave can be more of a slave than me? He didn't see his job as a privilege. He saw it as being a servant to the people. And this kind of thing wasn't a one-off. There was another time he was entering a city on a donkey, and he insisted on riding in the back, which was less comfortable, and let a younger man ride up front. He just actively rejected all the status and comfort that came with his power. So we've got accountability and humility, but what about strength? Well, for Umar, real strength was often shown through restraint, or what's called forbearance, a quality that was really deeply valued in his faith. Okay, picture this scene. A man gets an audience with Umar, and right there in front of everybody, he just starts shouting at him. He accuses him of being stingy and unjust. Can you imagine? And Omar, the most powerful man in the land, was absolutely enraged. Just think about that for a second. How would most leaders with that kind of absolute authority react to being insulted so publicly? What do you think would happen next? Just as Umar was about to punish the guy, one of his companions quietly recited a verse from the Quran. Show forgiveness, enjoin what is good, and turn away from the foolish. It was a direct reminder of the conduct of the Prophet Muhammad himself, who was known to be the living example of this verse. And just like that, it was over. The second he heard that verse, Umar did absolutely nothing to the man. All his anger just vanished, completely replaced by his respect for the word of God. His principles were just stronger than his pride. And this all brings us to our final and maybe the most critical pillar, a standard of justice that was so uncompromising that he applied it most strictly to the people who were closest to him. Whenever Umar made a new rule, the first thing he'd do is go to his own family and give them a very stark warning. He told them, people will watch you, and if any of them broke the rule, he would punish them double, specifically because they were related to him. And believe me, he meant it.
When his own sons used their status to get a loan from a governor and made a profit from it, Umar called them in. He asked them, "Did the governor lend to the entire army like he lent to you?" When they said no, he ordered them to return not just the loan, but every single bit of profit they made right back to the public treasury. For him, justice was absolute. No exceptions for family.
So, there you have it, 4 pillars that really defined the character of this caliph. You've got this deep-seated accountability, an active, practiced humility, a principled forbearance, and an uncompromising justice that always began at home.
You know, these stories, they've been preserved for over 1,000 years, and they really force us to ask a timeless question. Is the true measure of a leader found in their power or their wealth, or how many battles they've won, or is it found in what they refuse for themselves, how they treat their harshest critics, and the standards they hold their own family to?